Prakritim paramam abhayam varadam nararupadharam janatapaharam sharanagata sevaka toshakarim pranamami param jananim jagatam.
So today we are gathered here for the birth anniversary celebrations of the Holy Mother, Sri Sarada Devi. But this talk, which I'm going to give now, is going to be a little backwards. So we'll start somewhere else, but I promise it's relevant. It's going to come back to Ma Sharada. But we're going to start with something that happened just a couple of days ago. And very interestingly, of course, Mother's birthday actually was a couple of days ago. We are doing it today on Sunday for convenience, but it was a couple of days ago. Also, a couple of days ago, one a senior, very senior monk of our order, who's 100 years old, he also one of the most amazing and inspiring monks I ever knew, he passed a couple of days ago. Swami Sridharananda Ji Maharaj, who was the head of our Vedanta society in Australia, in Sydney. So he passed away a couple of days ago. And our story starts there, and then we go backwards to the Holy Mother. He was amazing for many, many reasons. Extraordinary orator, extraordinary scholar, an extraordinary administrator, founder of institutions, amazing monk in so many ways. But also those who have met him, you always feel he was extraordinary at a people-to-people level, because everybody who met him, they felt like, a personal connect with him. Everybody, and that includes me too. We have a big center in Lucknow where there's a hospital and a huge temple, all of which he did, really. He was the one who brought it to its present massive scale. A tremendous amount of work there. And after that work, when most other monks, monks retired too. Retirement, in one sense, we are already retired. I always felt the day you become a monk, you retire. So the rest of it is post-retirement. But yes, when monks get very old or sick, there are centers where senior monks stay, and they are assured of better care, medicine, doctors, and so on and so forth. In Belur Math, there is a whole institution for this called Arogya Bhavan, where the old swamis stay there. At that age, at the age of nearly 80, this Swami was sent to Australia in Sydney, to not the ashram, not the Vedanta Society of Australia. There was no Vedanta Society of Australia. There was nothing, just zero. And he was asked to set it up. So he goes there, and I remember, very interesting, it's prophetic. I visited in 2013, and in one place, I think it was Perth or Adelaide somewhere, I had to stay with a devotee's house, a very senior Indian gentleman who's been there in Australia all his life. And he said, Swami, decades ago, Swami Ranganathanandaji used to come here and give talks, and he would stay with our family, and we had a much smaller home then. So I and my wife and our little, I think, daughter at that time, we all shifted into one room so that the Swami could have the other room. And I asked the Swami, won't we have our own Vedanta society in Australia? And he said, yes, but it'll take time. And I asked him, how long? And he said, 30 years. And the amazing thing was, when the Swami Sridharanandaji landed in Sydney, it was 30 years after Swami Ranganathanji had said this. But even then, when he landed, there was nothing. And it's amazing that over the next 2 to 3 decades, more than 25 years, he was in his mid-70s at that time when he went. 2.5 decades, he built up not just the Vedanta Society of Sydney, I've seen it in 2013 when it was already a big ashram. Now those who have gone recently, they've seen it's expanded much more. It's really an amazing institution, it's a beautiful temple and everything. But also in Brisbane, in Melbourne, in Adelaide, in Perth, they're all independent ashrams with their own temples, property and all of that. And also across the sea in New Zealand. We went to see the ashram there. And in New Zealand, in Auckland, there's an ashram there now. And they're all big, well-to-do ashrams, all with their own congregations, temple, property, all because of this person who in his late 70s started everything. So it's never too late to start anything, no matter how big. And see the tremendous conviction of this Swami. And a devotee there, when I visited Australia, he told me that, the Swami we have here, Swami Sridharanji, and some of you have seen him because he has come to the United States a number of times. When he was able to travel, he would come every year for some time to the United States. So this Swami, when he came here, there was nothing, and we had a rented house where the ashram was, with a small room as the shrine. And in one morning I had a question to the Swami and I went to visit him. Nobody was there. The Swami was there. On his hands and knees, this person who was at that time maybe 77 years old, with a wet rag wiping the floor, the shrine of the shrine. And he said, ask now, because soon there'll be so many people you will not get an opportunity to ask. Look at the tremendous conviction. And this whole conviction was always rooted in the Holy Mother. He would not shy of saying this. He would not be shy of saying this. It is rooted in the Holy Mother, Ma Sharada. He had absolute conviction that this project which he is taking up at nearly 80, it's going to succeed and succeed beyond imagination. So he started this ashram there. I am personally indebted in many ways because I remember as a kid, I saw him, as a school student, I was a teenager at that time. So I saw him in the ashram where I used to visit in Bhubaneswar on the eastern side of India. And he would come once in a while to give talks there. So on one of these occasions, I was walking with him and he asked me, what will you do when you grow up? And I was shy, so I didn't say anything. He said, looking at you, I think it'll be nice if you become a teacher. And then he leaned close. I still can close my eyes and visualize, remember it so clearly. He leaned close to my ear and he whispered, but my boy, I tell you, if you can become a monk, there is nothing like it. It is so thrilling for me to hear those words, especially a youngster. I wanted to become a monk, but of course, I was too shy to discuss it with anybody. I'd never told any monk or anybody about it. And that was, I think, one of the first times when I actually felt that it's possible. It's not just a dream. Later on, after becoming a monk, I actually met him and I told him. when he saw me, and those who have met him, you know that he had this unique style of talking to you very familiarly, even if you are meeting him for the first time, or you could be meeting him for the 100th time, but he would behave as if he knew you forever, and you felt immediately comfortable with him. So I had joined the order. I was a brahmachari, a newly joined young novice, monastic novice, not yet a sannyasi. And I heard that the Swami had come. This was in Belur Math. The Swami was visiting at that time from Lucknow. So of course I went to meet him and I bowed down to him. And before I could introduce myself, he looked at me and he said, and tell you in Bengali and translate, "Tui baba ma ke chhede paliye You left your parents and you ran away." And then he himself, I didn't know what to say. And then he himself said, "Besh korechi, very well done, very well done." And then I told him that Swami, nearly a decade ago, I had met you, and he had told me that if you can become a monk, there is nothing like it. And he laughed and said, "Oh, did I say that to you?" So that's one reason why I still remember him fondly. Another reason is my coming out to the West is actually, he was the one who started the whole thing. Suddenly, out of the blue, I got an invitation, come to Australia to give talks. It was the 150th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda's birth, 2013. So all over the world there were some celebrations. So he had this grand plan. He wanted 4 Swamis from 4 continents to travel across Australia giving talks in various universities and ashrams and all of that. So he invited me, and I nobody knew me at that time. I was just a monk in Belur Mutt. Later I asked one of his assistant Swamis in Australia, why did you invite me? Because the others were very well-known people. There was Swami Tyaganandaji from Boston, the Swami Baneshanandaji from Germany, in Europe. And there was, of course, his own assistant, Swami Atmeshanandaji, Suresh Maharaj from Australia itself. So 4 continents, Asia, Australia, North America and Europe. And the assistant Swami says, we don't know. I said, why did you invite me? He said, we don't know. The Swami himself selected you. Swami Sridharanji selected. He said, invite that boy. So that was my first actual exposure to the West. I mean, first came to Singapore and from there flew to Sydney. It was all very new to me. I remember, I have many fond memories of that visit because it's the first time outside India. I remember going to a beach in, I think it was Perth or Adelaide or somewhere, to the south of Australia. And we went to this beach. It's stark, I went out to the ocean. It was a grey and cold morning and nobody was there. It's a cold beach, so nobody was there. And I still remember asking, what's there on the other side of this ocean? And they said, nothing. I said, what do you mean nothing? I said, nothing. This is the end of the world. Yeah, if you go far enough, you'll reach reach Antarctica. There's nothing else. It's just ocean. So I remember I picked up a couple of pebbles from that beach, washed smooth by the ocean at the end of the world. I still have it. I carried it all these 30 years, still upstairs with me. Now, this Swami, he established the ashram there, incredible. And then he would tell stories about how he became a monk. So, when he became a monk, a long, long time ago, he was the sevak, the attendant of Swami Virajanandaji. Now, those of you know Swami Tathagatanji, that was Swami Tathagatanji's guru. And so, this Swami Sridharanji was then attendant, when he was young, attendant to the president of the order at that time, Swami Virajanandaji. He was also for a while attendant to another great monk, Swami Shantanandaji. Swami Shantananda was a beautiful name, Shanta Ananda, the bliss of serenity. So Shantanandaji, Swami Shantananda was a disciple of the Holy Mother. So now we have the connection. And it so happened that the Swami Shantananda, in his old age, he contracted tuberculosis, TB. And in those days, it was a very tough disease. It's no fun now even, but it was very tough in those days. You had to go to a sanatorium. And you read about them in old literature, novels of that how if somebody gets the TB, you have to go and recover in a sanatorium. It was a long and slow and difficult process. So the Swami Shantananda, he was sent to the sanatorium. And in order to take care of him, Shalil Maharaj, Swami Sridharanji, his name was, pre-monastic name was Shalil. He was a brahmachari at that time. I don't know if he had formally joined yet, but he volunteered. He said, I'll take care of the old Swami. Now, remember, those who know that at that time, even now, but at that time especially, tuberculosis was a very infectious disease. Very infectious disease. And Swami Shantananda, he had it, and Sridharanji's young man volunteered to take care of him in spite of the risks. And he tells this story. It's now, luckily, one thing about Swami Sridharanji is quite a few of his talks are online available. So I encourage you to listen to those talks, especially the reminiscences he has about Swami Virajanandaji, about Swami Shantanandaji. Beautifully. He was a wonderful storyteller. And he was a wonderful orator also, with great scholarly depth and oratorical flair. Now, when they went into the sanatorium, at that time, Swami Shantananda had not been told that he has tuberculosis, but he realized that he has tuberculosis. And he became quiet. For 3 days he neither spoke, I think he refused to eat or something like that. And so Swami Sridharanji says that I thought the old man is depressed because after all, who wouldn't be? If got tuberculosis, maybe he's depressed. But after 3 days he explained. He says, no, not that he was depressed. He became alarmed at the thought that this young man who is serving him, he might get tuberculosis. And he says, I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if you got TB because of me. So he says, his guru, Shantanandaji's guru, was the Holy Mother. He says, I prayed to her in silence, withdrawing into myself for 3 days. Prayed to her. What was the prayer? That you have to assure me that this boy will not get tuberculosis. And she did. This was long years after the mother had passed, because mother passed from a mortal body in 1920. So she assured, according to Swami Shantananda, she assured him that this boy will not get tuberculosis. And so Swami Sridharanandaji used to joke in later years that I know whatever I die of, I will not die of tuberculosis. And he did not. And he did not. Yes. Another reason, it's sort of poignant. I mean, I can tell you now that he has gone. A few months ago, I got this invitation that would you like to come to Australia? I said yes, but my schedule is decided 1 or more years in advance. So this whole year is packed already. I can't go now, not this summer. This is a phone call from Australia just a few months before summer. And the Swami who called me, Swami Sridharanandaji's assistant, he said, do you know that he is 100 years old, right? I said, yes, but if you want me to come, I'll come immediately. I'll cancel the programs and come. Then he said, wait, let me get back to you. Then after a couple of days, he got back to me and said that Swami Sridharanandaji has said, it's all right, let him come next year. So the plan was to go next year. But I now feel that he might have had an inclination, an intimation sort of, that he's going to pass maybe. Maybe that's why suddenly after 10 years, and in this year itself, he said, invite him again. So Swami Shantanandaji was a disciple of the Holy Mother. Now we go further back. There he has left behind reminiscences of the Holy Mother, Shantanandaji. He was a great, great monk. I have heard about him not only from Swami Sridharanandaji, but from many other monks, senior monks who have seen him. Right now, for example, you have Swami Chaitananandaji, who saw Shantanandaji. You have Swami Sarvadevanandaji here in this country, who have seen Shantanandaji. You have Swami Bhaskaranandaji in Seattle, who has seen Swami Shantanandaji. And they all have this great regard. I mean, it was like if you went to Belur Math, you would have to not only go and see the temple of Sri Ramakrishna, go to the president and bow down and all of that, but one of the things you had to do was to go and see Swami Shantananda. Not that he would speak with you. Not that he would speak with you. There are so many very humorous but very instructive little stories about him. But it was such an extraordinary attraction. This aura of deep holiness, serenity, his name, Shantananda, serenity, purity and upliftment which surrounded him like a radiance or a halo around him. That's the description I get from other monks. That's why it was a great attraction. Young people would go and want to sit. Although he didn't speak most of the time. He just sat quietly. You would want to sit close to him. Watch him. At his childlike face. It was mostly absorbed inwardly. One thing, if you ask senior monks who have met him, one thing they all know him for is what is called the anahatanada, the unstruck sound. So he was a monk of our order who is supposed to have been who heard this sound all the time. It is said that there is the original vibration of the universe, from which the universe has arisen. All speech, music, everything has arisen from that. But the physical universe and the universe of the mind is all arisen from that. It's supposed to be the primal cause. And it's quote unquote a sound. Anahata. Ahata means to strike. So all sounds are produced by striking. But anahata, unstruck sound. That's the description which is given. And it's supposed to be, because it's not struck, it's not produced, so it's eternal. It's supposed to be vibrating all the time. And yogis can some yogis at least, they can hear it. And if once you notice it and hear it, you can. And this Shantananda used to hear it. And he would say, if you approached him, if you're lucky, he would look at you and he say, don't you hear it? And you would go, no, nothing. What? But listen, many of the monks who met him, and they have told me myself, they had this experience with him. They would ask him, he would ask them, don't you hear it now? A couple of funny instances. So, he was childlike. So, for example, many people, and including well-known people in society, big people, they would come to meet him because they had heard about him. They would come to meet him. So, a judge of the Supreme Court came to meet him in the monastery. And people escorted the justice in, and he bowed down to Swami Shantananda. And Swami Shantananda, childlike, and he would always do this. Ki karo, what do you do? They said, Swami, he's a judge of the Supreme Court. And say, I see. And Bengali he would say, Chole jai to. Is it enough? Do you earn enough to get by? And you can imagine them hissing, and he says, he's a judge of the Supreme Court. He would ask anybody, because his basic thing was, I hope you are not in any financial distress. You're doing well, all right? So are you all right? Is it enough? Do you get by? And so many stories. Another story is about Swami Virajananda, whom he loved very much. Swami Virajananda was also a disciple of the Holy Mother, and Swami Shantananda was a disciple of the Holy Mother. And so Swami Shantanandaji loved and revered Swami Virajanandaji very much. And Virajanandaji passed away long before Shantanandaji passed away. So one day he is saying, a monk told me this. He said, Swami Shantananda said to this monk, in fact, I can tell his name. You all know him. Swami Suhitanandaji, who's the vice president now. So he said, one day I had gone to Swami Shantananda, and Swami Shantananda said to me, I don't see Kali Krishna Maharaj nowadays. I haven't seen him around. Where is he? Kali Krishna Maharaj is Swami Virajananda, who was the president of the order. Where is he? I don't see him around. So, what are you saying, Swami? He passed away 15 years ago. Then the Swami said, that's why I don't see him around. Another story. There's this man who was a big man, either a politician or some big person, powerful person, came to meet him, and he had questions, and he introduced himself grandly, bowed down to Swami Shantananda, and so and so. Swami Shantananda sat quietly. And then he said, this man asked him a question, he sat quietly, waited and waited. And Swami Shantananda sat quietly. After some time, in a little bit of disappointment, this man got up in irritation and bowed down, and he left. As he left, Swami Shantananda gave this most childlike of smiles, like a little mischievous boy, and he said, Khub thukiye dilam. I really pulled the wool over his eyes. He did it on purpose, not talk to him at all. Now let us go further back to his contact with the Holy Mother, from whom he got the mantra diksha. And then he had a conversation with the Holy Mother, which he has left record of. So it goes like this. A few questions he asked. He asks the mother. At that time, he had just become a monk. I mean, he had not. He was a novice, and he got the mantra before he became a Swami, I think. Yes. He asks the mother, how should I live? And remember, what follows now, these are questions of a monk, and the answers also are tailored to a monastic life. So, but there's important insights for us there. So we should adapt it to our own lives. How should I live? The mother says, do what you are doing now. Think of Thakur and live your life. Think constantly of Thakur. Think constantly of Sri Ramakrishna. Simple answer. But I was thinking about it. Often, and this is a monk, I was a serious spiritual seeker. So when I have seen this often in lives of spiritual seekers, they're doing whatever needs to be done, but they worry and fret often. Am I doing enough? What else do I need to do? And what's behind it is, not really spiritual practice or God realization. It's a seeking a result. I'm expecting some kind of a result, and right now, or as soon as possible, not getting it, therefore I'm worrying about it. It's not really a serious question about one's spiritual practice. It's the hidden implication is, what will I do so that I get a result? And that's why the Holy Mother would stop you right there. Stop thinking about that. Somebody wrote to the Holy Mother from the Himalayas. Letters would be read out to the Holy Mother, and she would dictate a reply. So this letter, a monk from the Himalayas says, I have spent so many years in Rishikesh and I repeat the mantra regularly, and this is how I spend my time. When will God be gracious? When will Sri Ramakrishna be gracious and reveal himself to me? And the Holy Mother was actually annoyed. She said, write to him 2 points. 1, is God a sack of potatoes you can purchase at the market with? You pay some money, and I did so much meditation, I repeated the mantra so many thousands of or lakhs of times, millions of times, and therefore God should suddenly appear because I paid the full price. No. Second point, she says, he's a monk, what else will he do? Why are you, the whole point is that why are you doing it as if you're doing a favor to God or to everybody else? No, this is what you're supposed to do. And then she says that you do your practice. In the fullness of time, the Lord will appear to you. So she says to Shantanandaji, very simple reply. Do whatever you're doing now. Live like you're living now. Because he was a very austere, very meditative, inward. And think of God all the time. I was reading today. In the morning we have a Gita chanting, and today there was a chanting from the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. There's one verse. It says, Tad buddhaya, tad atmana, tan nishtha, tat parayana. It says, with your intellect fixed on that, realizing that to be yourself, steady in that, and entirely committed to that. That means Brahman. I was just thinking, that's what the Holy Mother was implying, without all the fancy Sanskrit and philosophy backing it up. The commentator, one of the commentaries I was reading just this morning was by a monk called Shankarananda, who was a great non-dualist. He says the idea is, he says, anavagahina. That means to be immersed in God. What a beautiful way of putting it. Immerse yourself in the ocean of God. And all the practices are meant for that. It's not like, how many hours should I do that? That means you have got something else to do at the other hours of your day. It's like, how can I finish my daily meditative practices and then go about my nonsense? No. The idea is to be immersed in God all the time, in all ways. Why would you want something else? That's the interesting thing is, what is it that, what else do you have to do? Especially, again, remember, he's a monk. Then he asks other questions to the Holy Mother. One question is, he asks, well, nothing can be achieved without the awakening of the Kundalini, isn't it? And the Holy Mother says, of course that is so. But you keep on repeating the mantra, by the force of this mantra itself, the Kundalini will be awakened. And then she says, it's so striking. She says, and just before the awakening of the Kundalini, the yogi will hear the anahad nada, the unstruck sound. I have never seen her say that to anybody else. She says it to him, that you will hear the unstruck sound before the awakening of it. She didn't say that you will hear. She said before the awakening of the Kundalini, it will happen its own time, and you will hear that. Sometime afterwards, he did hear, and then he came back to the Holy Mother and he asked, this is what I am experiencing this. Is this correct? Is this right? And she says, she confirmed it. And it's something that he effortlessly heard throughout his life. If you go to the doctor, of course, they'll say it's tinnitus or something like that. I've met one other person who actually does hear this anyway. So so it is true, these things happen. He's a very interesting person. He's on one hand is a multimillionaire, on the other hand a yogi. And I gave a talk to him and his group once. He invited me. The talk was for nearly 3 hours. One talk. And he sat like a statue in the middle of it. Throughout the talk, he sat in front of me. Not only him, his entire group. So he had trained them in a meditation technique based on this unstruck sound, which was very impressive. Nobody fidgeted, nobody got up and moved, not a single movement of that small group of about 20 people for 3 hours. Later on I realized it was not my talk. They were listening to that sound. But they were hearing the sound, talk also, because they had good questions. So he would hear this all his life long. And strangest of coincidences, the commentary which I mentioned, I was reading the commentary this morning. That commentator, the Swami Shankarananda, who has written a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, he says, one must make a deliberate effort to attend to that. That Brahman which Vedanta reveals, he says, Sarva Vedanta Prasiddham, which is clearly revealed by the Vedanta. Upon enlightenment, he says, one sees it with the eye of knowledge, just as with this eye one sees Rupamiva, just as one sees color and shape with this eye. The moment you open this eye, you see color and shape, the world. Exactly like that, he says, by the eye of knowledge, which is Vedanta, one sees Brahman as openly, as evidently as that. However, he says, one must, so this is the meaning of Tad Buddhaya. That means your intellect fixed on this, with your intellect illumined by this knowledge. Next, he says, Tad Atmana, that means you have to see that this reality which is revealed to me by Vedantic knowledge is me, it's myself. Tad Atma, I am that. But then he says, after that, because of long body identification, the moment the enlightened one engages in worldly activity, and so that's the activity of a monk. He says, going out for begging for food or for taking a bath, again the body identification becomes predominant. And then he says, it is like anada dhvani, bahya dhvanina vinashyati. Like he says, anahata. The anada is, the nada dhvani, he says, nada dhvani, anahata dhvani, bahya dhvanina vinashyati. Just like that unstruck sound. Again, and what a coincidence, he's using that example. He says, like the unstruck sound is covered over, is suppressed as it were, by external sound. That original vibration, the unstruck vibration of this universe, it's there. Now it cannot be, Vinashyati means destroyed literally, it cannot be destroyed, but what happens is, it gets suppressed as it were, by engagement with the world. Similarly, your realization that I am Brahman, here is this most evident reality, as evident as open your eyes, see the world, see colors and shapes. Similarly, Vedanta knowledge shows you that this limitless radiance, you are surrounded in it all the time. And yet it can get suppressed, it can get covered over. The moment you engage with the body and speech and with people, then division becomes foremost. I am this person, you are that person, this is, I'm begging for food and eating, I feel hungry or sick. All of those things, they become dominant, and the underlying that this oneness, this one radiance, it becomes suppressed. The knowledge will not go away, but it's a bit like, so I know I'm Swami Sarvapriyananda, but I'm not thinking about it all the time, especially if I'm busy. I'm doing lots of other things, then I'm not really, it's not in uppermost in my mind. So the knowledge that I'm Sarvapriyananda is there, that's not gone. But the mind is not dwelling on it. The mind is dwelling on the work of the world. So the knowledge is certain for the enlightened one, the knowledge that I am Brahman, Brahman is the only reality, I am Brahman is fixed, it will not go away. However, because of engagement with the world, with the body mind, that becomes foremost. And so that's because of the nature of the mind. The mind can hold on to one thing at a time only. So therefore, he says, the Gita is saying, make a special effort, tan nishtha tad parayana, to be centered in that, make a conscious effort in the midst of worldly activity also. Notice it. Keep making an effort to notice it. It's there. Otherwise, what will happen is, it will get covered over like the unstruck sound is covered over with the struck sound. Nada dhvani Bahya dhvanina vinashyati. Yatha. That is the Sanskrit. Very interesting that the same example, suddenly this morning, I was reading about it and the same example comes up. The Holy Mother said to Shantananda in that conversation, yes, the Kundalini will be awakened by your japa, by the practice of japa itself it will be awakened, the japa which you are doing. And the yogi hears the unstruck sound before the awakening of the Kundalini. Another question Shantanandaji asked the Holy Mother was about pilgrimage. Is it, Mother, is it helpful to go from place to place in pilgrimage? And she says, no, my son, if the mind gets settled in God, what is the need of going for pilgrimage? Wherever the mind gets settled, stay there. Now at that time, he was in Banaras, in Kashi. Shantanandaji was born in Banaras, and he was practicing meditation for long hours. He would stay in seclusion for long hours and he practiced meditation. So he asks Mother, Mother, the heart is not filled I'm not fulfilled with this stone image. He means the Shivaling of Baba Vishwanath. And the mother immediately corrects him. He says, why a stone image, my child? How many people are coming and their sins are all washed away by touching the Shivaling of Vishwanath? Huh? Why do you say it's a stone image, my child? Then another question he asks is, Mother, the heart is full of fear when I think about how great spiritual people also fall away from spiritual heights by worldly temptation. And the mother says there, if you keep yourself in the midst of worldly temptations, the mind will slip. So you have to stay away from it. And then she gives some specific instructions for monks to Shantanandaji. Another interesting question he asks, Mother, I practice yoga, the physical side of it, the Hatha yoga. Is that all right? Is it good? And she tells him, be careful, my child, because these exercises have a way of pulling your mind to the body. Now that's very interesting. I was thinking the whole Hatha yoga movement in the West and now in India also, it's very popular. But you see, what it does is, soon you have a yogi body. You wear yoga pants and you stretch and you meditate and push and push. So it moves from keeping the body healthy for meditation and God realization to health becoming primary, to the body becoming primary. Am I aging better or not aging at all? And am I flexible? Am I good looking? And all of that becomes primary. So long ago, Holy Mother is telling Shantanandaji that you be careful. Then he says, no, I just do a little bit of it every day. It aids my digestion. And then she says, that's all right, my son. But I just, again she cautions, it takes the mind away to the body. And then she also says, if you stop doing them, again it has a bad effect on your health. So you should be like moderate in your exercises, like physical exercises. Like this. It's a very interesting conversation. And the whole conversation has been translated into English by Swami Chetananandaji in his book on the Holy Mother. So now we are at the Holy Mother. As I promised, it's a little bit of a backwards talk, but now we have arrived where we wanted to be. The Holy Mother as the spiritual teacher, Swami Gambhiranandaji, he says that she was at the same time, she was mother, she was guru, and she was goddess. Goddess, guru, mother. Sri Ramakrishna said, she is Saraswati. She has come to give enlightenment. O Saraswati, O Gyandite Esheche. And how did she do that? She did it as a guru, but the unique approach to guru was as the mother. And Swami Gambhiranji says, at first when you approach her, she seems like your mother, like your very own mother. A monk asked her, are you my mother? Are you really my mother? She says, yes, my child. She says, not figuratively. I don't mean it metaphorically. I am your mother, but I am the mother of everybody and everything in this universe. So there you see, from mother to the motherhood of God. God as the mother. Meister Eckhart, the Catholic theologian in Germany 800 years ago, he asked this question. I often wonder, what does God do all day long? And immediately the answer came to me, that he lies in this great birthing bed and gives birth to the universe all day long. Now that looks odd because we think about God as a male figure in Christianity, but it makes sense immediately when you think of God as the mother. So for all of us, this is saying that God has no grandchildren. So everybody, you, your parents and your grandparents, all are children of God. So God has no grandchildren. We are all the children of God. We are all the children of the mother. So you approach her, she seems to be your mother. And then from mother, but as a spiritual teacher, a guru. And then she reveals herself as goddess, as the mother of the universe. There is a beautiful verse in the Guru Gita, Atma Jnana Pradhanena. It says, Aneka Janma Samprapta Karma Bandha Vidahine Atma Jnana Pradhanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I salute the Guru. Guru. Who is the Guru? Our accumulated karma of many lifetimes. It is destroyed. That's what binds us to samsara. And that is destroyed by the Guru. How does the Guru destroy our accumulated karma? By giving us Atma Jnana, self-knowledge. Self-knowledge, which shows us that we are not the body-mind. Therefore, the karma generated by body-mind does not bind us. There is actually no real karma for us. We are free. Even it said the fire of self-knowledge burns away all karma. We are freed. The Guru does that. The meaning of the word Guru is also the remover of darkness. Not that the Guru is a flashlight. It's darkness by knowledge, the light of knowledge. There's a story of after Vivekananda, another Swami came from India. Some of you may have heard of him. Ram Tirtha. He's a monk, a Vedantic teacher, a monk. He was a mathematics professor. And in Lahore. And he met Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda gave him a gold watch or something like that. Or he gave a watch to Vivekananda, something like this, some story like that. Swami Vivekananda blessed him. Later he became a monk and he spread Vedanta in India, and he came here to the West also. There's a series of books of his teachings called In the Woods of God Realization, several volumes. But there's an interesting story he would tell about how spirituality works. He says, one day a yogi went up to a Himalayan cave and he found outside the cave a strange sight. There was somebody performing the fire sacrifice, homa. Fire sacrifice, light the fire and offering into the fire. Somebody was sitting with hands folded and praying to God. Somebody was seated in deep meditation. So somebody is meditating, somebody is praying, somebody is offering the homa, somebody is doing a puja. And he asked, my friends, what are you doing? What are you doing? He says, look at this enormous cave, this darkness inside. And there dwells in this great demon, and we want to drive away this demon of darkness. So some are praying, some are doing rituals and pujas and homa, some are meditating. And then the yogi said, but my friends, this is not the way to drive away darkness. I will show you the way. Here you bring these mashal in firebrands, like a torch, a flaming torch. Light them on fire and come with me. So they had a procession with lighted torches. And as they went into the darkness of the cave, the darkness fled before the light. And it was full of these slinking, creepy, crawly creatures and scorpions and snakes who all rushed out of the cave when the light came in there. And so in the cave of the heart, there is this darkness which hides the reality. And because of the darkness, there are many creepy crawlies in our heart. The way to drive them away is this light. Guru is the one who lights up the darkness of the cave of our heart. And how does the Guru do that? The emphasis which the mother gave was on mantra. So she would initiate diksha. The word diksha also, diksha is diyate and kshiyate. So diyate means the one who gives or giving knowledge. And kshaya means to destroy the sins of the heart. So that Diksha, she would give mantra Diksha, and that has become the primary mode of spiritual practice in our tradition, mantra and Ishta Devata. She would designate that God is to be worshipped in this form. Could be Narayana, could be Kali, could be Durga, could be Ramakrishna, could be in some form. Krishna or Rama, in some form, and here is the mantra. This is how you meditate and repeat the mantra. This is the primary spiritual practice she would teach people when people would come to her. And this was what is called initiation, mantra diksha, and that we see also now. But her diksha would be, here the guru will give you the mantra, teach you how to meditate, and then you repeat the mantra and meditate. And in time, one never knows how long, years, decades, lifetimes, you will have the vision of God. And that will free you from the samsara, the cycle of samsara. But in her case, she would give you the mantra and she would say, here my child, here is your Ishta Devata, God in the chosen form in which you are supposed to worship. And in many cases, the devotee, the one who is initiated, would actually get a vision of God. Maybe the only time in their lives. And then he said, you start practicing in this way and one day you will get it permanently. So she would see here and you would see God. If briefly for some time only. A monk explained that the Upanishads, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the Vedantic practices of hearing, contemplating and meditating, Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana, and it comes from Upanishadic teaching in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where Yajnavalkya, the hero of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, tells his wife Maitri, Atma vare drashtabhya, shrotabhya, mantabhya, nididhyasitabhya. My dear, the self, the real nature of the self, is to be seen. How is it to be seen? To be heard and reasoned about and meditated upon. But this monk explained, notice he first said it is to be seen. And if you see it in the way the Holy Mother would initiate, actually you would see first and then the practice would come afterwards. And for the rest of us, usually when the Guru gives us mantra, we practice and hopefully one day we will see. But in her case, you would see first and then maybe you would practice for the rest of your life. The more you practice, the more the results would come. So she would initiate. Swami Satprakashanandaji, who established the Vedanta Society in St. Louis, he said, he asked Swami Shivananda once. At that time, Swami Brahmananda, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, was initiating, and Holy Mother was also giving the mantra. So some take the mantra from Swami Brahmananda, some take the mantra from the Holy Mother. Is it the same? And Swami Shivananda said, yes, it is the same Ganga water coming through two taps. The same Ganga water coming through two taps. There's no difference. Here in the United States, some of you I know have seen Swami Asheshanandaji. He was the head of the Vedanta Society in Portland, in Oregon. I haven't seen him. In fact, the monks from India, we have never seen him because he came to the United States in the 40s? 30s or 40s, and he never ever went back to India. The only monk who really never ever went back to India. He was a little sullen about it because when he was sent, he didn't want to come here, and they ordered him to come. So he was in a huff. He decided not to go back. But then, actually, the real reason he revealed later on, he had a vision of the Holy Mother in Portland, in the ashram there. And therefore, he felt if the mother is here, there's no need for me to go back to India anyway. I'll be there where the mother is. And so you have a special feeling of the mother's presence in the Portland Vedanta Society. The present head of the ashram there, he told me that he considers it to be like the Jairambati of the West, that it's the mother's ashram. So Swami Asheshanandaji, he got initiated from the Holy Mother, and he was the last living monastic disciple of the Holy Mother. The Holy Mother initiated many. She actually gave a mantra to Swami Yogananda also, who's regarded as a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. But Sri Ramakrishna insisted that you give a mantra to Swami Yogananda. And then she initiated some of Sri Ramakrishna's other householder devotees. Then she initiated many monks and many other devotees. So Swami Asheshananda was the one who was the last living monastic disciple of the Holy Mother. He was himself an extraordinary character. Those who have seen him, we haven't. We've just heard the stories. So anyway, she got the mantra from the Holy Mother, and the way she would initiate is very simple. She would say, come, sit here, here is the mantra, and you repeat this. And you have to offer something to the guru after the initiation. Even that she would arrange for. Here is a fruit, take it and offer it to me. and that's it, it's done. Now Swami Asheshananda later on became the secretary, he became the assistant to Swami Saradananda, who was the secretary, the general secretary of the Ramakrishna order, another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, a very saintly, very scholarly Swami who wrote the Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, the book, and so on and so forth. I remember Swami Bhuteshanandaji, from whom I got the mantra. Someone asked him, you are a disciple of Swami Saradananda, but at that time the Holy Mother was living, so why didn't you take the mantra from the Holy Mother? And he said, see, at that time the Holy Mother was hidden. The disciples of Sri Ramakrishna sort of threw a fence around her and kept her away from the public eye. They felt, because so many people were taking mantra diksha from her, they felt that the more people she gets exposed to people, she might leave the body sooner also. They wanted to protect her from the public eye. So she was not all that well known, first. And second, she said, we were immature. We thought, here is Swami Saradanandaji, the disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, the writer of the Lila Prasanga, the great master. And so we all went to and took initiation from Swami Saradanandaji. Now, Swami Saradanandaji's secretary or attendant was Swami Asheshanandaji. So here is the story. He saw how Swami Saradanandaji would initiate, how methodical it was, how step by step, how elaborate. And he would take his time and give detailed instructions. And he would pray and meditate for a long time before and after meditation, Swami Saradanandaji would. Whereas Asheshanandaji compared that with his experience with the Holy Mother, who casually, in the midst of her household work and busy day, initiated him and then went on about her work. And made it was so casually done and so simple. So he had a doubt. So he went to Swami Saradananda, Asheshanandaji went to Swami Saradananda and said, you do such a good job of it, and the Holy Mother did not tell me all these things. So can you add something to what the Holy Mother did? And I want a step-by-step instructions, the whole detailed instructions from you. And Saradanandaji looked astonished. He said, what a fool you are. The Holy Mother has given you the mantra. You need not do anything else in your life. It's by a particle of her grace that we are what we are today. Bharati Prana Mataji, Sarada Devi, she asked Swami Saradanandaji that the Holy Mother would casually initiate devotees. You pray and meditate so much before and after initiation. And he said she could do that. Swami Saradanandaji said she could do that. Anybody who has been initiated by the Holy Mother, Sri Ramakrishna will come for them, if nothing else, at the very end of their lives. This was his promise to her, that those whom you take under your protection, I will take care of them here and hereafter. But he says, in my case, Swami Saradanandaji says this, in my case, I have to meditate and pray for a long time until I am assured by Thakur that he has accepted this disciple and will take care of him. Which is no small thing, that he actually feels each disciple, he makes sure that Sri Ramakrishna responds, he gets a response from Sri Ramakrishna that Sri Ramakrishna is accepting this disciple and will take care of this disciple. So she would initiate. Swami Chaitanandaji has made a nice analysis. After Sri Ramakrishna passed away in 1886, the Holy Mother lived for about 30 years. 33 years. And you can divide that into 3 periods of 11 years each. So the first 11 years she was virtually unknown. She lived mostly in seclusion in the village and sometimes in Calcutta. The next 11 years people started coming to her for initiation. Last 11 years was a rush. Every day some people would come for initiation. And she knew it. Sri Ramakrishna had left her behind for that. So she knew it. In fact, if someone did not come for initiation, she would take all her, whatever she had to say, she would say it to Sri Ramakrishna. She would say that nobody has come today. Will the day go in vain? Although she was enormously busy. From morning till night, there was these devotees whom she guided, monks whom she guided, the entire order. She was like a mother to the entire order. Even Swami Vivekananda and Swami Brahmananda, they took the most difficult problems to her, and whatever she said, that was the final word. Swami Vivekananda happily argued with Sri Ramakrishna. She argued with Sri Ramakrishna. He never ever argued with her. Whatever she said was final, immediately done, final. So she was a guide to the entire order, the monastic order, and to devotees, and to monks. Numerous monks would come to her for initiation, for spiritual guidance. Devotees across the country would write to her, and she had this correspondence daily. She would attend to that. She would dictate replies. The correspondence would be read out to her. On top of that, there was the household. All sorts of people, including some very difficult people. There was the mad aunt, and there was the niece Radhu. They all kept her busy. And they were her brothers, who were not at all particularly spiritual. They wanted money from her, and they would nag her for this or that. And on top of all of that, she would rise before everybody else, well before the Brahma Muhurta, well before sunrise. She would meditate for hours, and then she would be busy all day long with, she cooked, she cleaned, she fed people, and what not. So all of this she would do, and in the midst of that, if nobody came for initiation, she would say to Thakur that, will the day go in vain? She suffered. So she explained that the Guru, she would take on the sins of those who came, the bad karma of those who came to her. One Narayan Iyengar from, I think, Tamil Nadu, he had come to take initiation, and he said that, don't accept my sins, mother. I can't bear the thought that you will suffer for my sins. And she said, no, my child, this is why we have come. Let me do that for you. So she would do that, but she would suffer herself. There is a very telling story. One day, she was sitting and saying that nobody has come today, and lo and behold, and her biographer says that almost just about every day somebody would turn up. 3 people came to the village Jairambati from the city. This is a big deal. Coming from Calcutta to Jairambati was a big deal. You have to cross 2 rivers and go by bullock cart and all of that. Now you can just drive down easily. So they came and with a letter from Swami Brahmananda, requesting her to initiate these 3 gentlemen from Calcutta. For some reason, he had refused to initiate them. So she said, all right, send them to me. The 3 of them came before her, and she immediately, what she saw, we don't know. She saw something in them, and she said, Rakhal, children, children send the nice gifts for their parents, for their mother when they go abroad. And this is what Rakhal has sent to me. And then she says, I will not initiate these ones. And those 3 men, they were shocked. They had no idea why they were being turned down again. So something that Swami Brahmananda saw in them, and something that Holy Mother immediately saw in them by looking at them. And she refused also. So they wept and pleaded with her, and finally she relented. She said, all right, this body is meant for the work of Thakur. I will do it. Tell them to come tomorrow. And she calmly initiated all of them. Now this information was sent back to Belur Math. So there's a very nice description of Swami sitting by the bank of the Ganga in Belur Math. Swami Brahmananda, president of the order. Swami Shivananda, Swami Premananda, and Swami Sharadananda, I think. 4 of them sitting there on the bank of the river. And somebody read out or told them this information. Those 3 you had sent to the Holy Mother, she has initiated them. Swami Brahmananda narrated, he became grave and silent, indrawn, sat stock still. And Swami Premananda said, victory to the Mother, Jai Ma, that by Kripa, he said, by grace, by her grace, she has devoured that, even a bit of which would have reduced us to ashes. If we had tried to devour that bad karma, we would have been reduced to ashes. She calmly swallows all of it. She devours all of it, destroys all that karma. I mentioned Swami Virajanandaji, Swami Tathagatanji's guru. He was a disciple of the Holy Mother, and he was a great yogi. There is a place in the Himalayas called Shamlatal, an ashram which he established, very beautiful place, where he spent years and years in meditation. Meditation means 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Swami Virajanji would spend in repeating the mantra and meditating. By the way, if you're interested, all his spiritual realizations, instructions, he has poured into one book. In Bengali, Paramartha Prasanga, and in English, Towards the Goal Supreme. very wonderful manual of spiritual practice. It's a sort of comprehensive and very insightful manual of spiritual practice. So Swami Virajanandi was, as a young monk, he was also very close to Swami Vivekananda. So he became sick. He would meditate, but he became sick. And he would meditate, he was a yogi, he would like to meditate, focus here, between the eyebrows, in the Agnya Chakra. So one day he became sick, but all the medical treatment, nothing availed. He became weaker and weaker. He came to meet the Holy Mother, and the Holy Mother looked at him just once, and she looked shocked. She said, the first reaction was, "My son, where do you meditate?" And he said, "Here, Mother, I love meditating here, gives me great joy." And she said, "My son, what have you done? That is the spot, that's the end, the final destination. Only Paramahamsas stay there. And if you keep your mind there, there's no way of coming back." So you should always meditate in the heart. You begin here. And so he changed. And he changed. Within a short time, his health started improving. Without any medicines, without any therapy, just by changing the locus of meditation. And later he would say, Swami Virajanji would say, "Look, how insightful she was." Immediately, by seeing my face, she understood this. And if I had not had that instruction, he said, I would have become an invalid or I would have gone insane. Talking about insane, there were eccentrics whom she initiated. And there are many such stories. There was this one gentleman, Vaikunta, from Cuttack. He got initiation from her, and then he came to her one day and says, he says that, "I'm making no progress at all. It's no good, the mantra you have given. And just take it back. I want to return the mantra to you." She said, "What kind of talk is that, my child?" He said, "No, I don't want it." Then she said quietly, "It's all right, then you don't have to do anything more." Then Vaikunta looked shocked. And he suddenly felt horrified at what he had done. He said, "Mother, I've lost everything. You have taken everything away from me. Will I go to hell?" And then she got excited and said, "What are you saying, my child? You are my child." Even, she says, the fates have no power to take you to hell. The fates means karma. Nobody can ever take you to hell. Remember, you don't have to do anything. Even if you don't do anything, at the very end of your life, Sri Ramakrishna will come and take you and save you at the end of your life. He has promised me this. It will happen. And she would tell that to a number of people. That especially if you come to Jairam Bhatti, many would sit for long hours in meditation. She says, "You don't have to do this here. When you are with me, she said, eat well and relax, be happy. I will take care of you." But just the opposite, she would also say. So, depending on whom she spoke to, she said to Swami Dhirananda, who had said the mind is restless, she says, Krishna Lal, his name was Krishna Lal, she says, "Oh Krishna Lal, repeat the mantra 10,000, 15,000 times a day. Your mind will become calm. She says, "Oh Krishna Lal, I have seen it myself. People will not do anything. And then they come and complain, I'm making no progress at all. Let them repeat it 10, 15,000 times a day." She would repeat the mantra 100,000 times every day. And people asked, "Why are you doing this?" Even when she was elderly and sick in her bed, she hardly got any sleep because she would lie down and repeat the mantra. She says, "So many have taken mantra diksha from me. Many are unable to do it. I do it for them." Somebody asked her, "Do you remember all of them?" And she was childlike and honest. And she would say that, "No. But those I remember, by their name, I do mantra japa for them, and those I do not remember, I do for them, and tell Thakur that there are those whose names I cannot recall right now, but do take care of all of them." So she would do japa for her own spiritual children also. Swami Bhuteswaranji says that one should always see the divine in the Guru. He gives a warning there that do not confuse the Guru with that living person. Right? He says, otherwise what will happen is if you confuse the Guru with the body of the Guru, he says it leads to Dehatmavad. See, if you think the Guru is the body, subtly, psychologically, the damage is you will strengthen your own identification with the body. When the Guru is gone, the physical body will die. You will feel the Guru is gone. But if you see that the divine, Brahman, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara. Swami Bhuteswaranji explained. I was there he was explaining this to us. He said it's not that the Guru is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara appear as your Guru. Satchidananda or Brahman appears as your Guru. So even when the physical form of the Guru is gone, you will not miss the Guru, because the Guru was always, it's eternally present. So Swami Bhuteshanji says you should always see the divine in the Guru. Many other such interesting stories. There was a person who actually became mad, another person who returned, who was eccentric, and he was initiated by the mother. He came to the Calcutta ashram where the mother was living, mother's house. To the extent he became unstable and started shouting at the mother and said, "You have deceived me, take the mantra back." And he threw the rosary at her and stormed out in spite of the monks trying to pacify him. And he soon became insane. But he would not leave her. He just hung around. He would live on the bank of the Ganga near, he would live there, and the monks would give him food to have. They were cold and annoyed with him. But the mother was completely unfazed. And whenever he would come, she would talk to him sweetly and try to convince him and say that, "Why are you behaving in this way? See, if you are a child of Sri Ramakrishna, you will bring bad repute to Sri Ramakrishna. People will say, look, the disciple of Sri Ramakrishna has become mad." Over time, this changed this young man, and he became normal, and he started doing spiritual practices and became quite normal afterwards. This is how she would deal with all sorts of people. So, we have had a long story, starting with Sridharanji and going backwards to the Holy Mother. On this day, I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, to Ma Sarada Devi, to Swami Vivekananda, to bless all of us with her protection. We are her children, and we will let her be ever present in our hearts, in our minds, in our lives. It is in her gaze that we are playing around in this world. She's watching over us. She will take care of us. She will take care of all of us and bless all of us. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.